Hey guys, tonight we're taking a soft pastel plunge into the world of 1950s American housewives. A time when your value was measured in gel, salads, hair curlers, and the ability to vacuum in high heels without sweating or having an existential crisis. Think of this as a gentle, hypnotic descent into a world of rigid beauty standards, unhinged home appliances, and existential dread with a fresh coat of pink paint. Before we go any further, I'd love it if you took a second to like this video and subscribe, but only if you actually enjoy it. Drop a comment letting me know what time it is where you are and what weird retro appliance you'd be most afraid of owning. My personal vote goes to the atomic toaster. Now, dim the lights, click on a fan for that distant washing machine hum, and get cozy. Pull the blanket up to your chin. Don't worry, there are no surprise Tupperware parties tonight. Let's get a little absurd for a second. Have you ever wondered what it would be like if your entire self-worth depended on how shiny your linoleum was? Or if you lost social status for having a single split end? Would you survive a day where people judged your worth by how pointy your bra was? What if your neighbor spotted you taking the trash out in slacks? Would you be excommunicated from suburbia? Could you handle a morning spent taming your hair into a helmet, only to sweat it all out, making a 3-course meatloaf for your in-laws? Would you fold under the pressure of matching your lipstick to your living room curtains? How many hours of your life could you lose to ironing pillowcases you'll never let anyone see? And now, congratulations! You've just woken up in a pastel-hued kitchen. It's 1956, and you're expected to look like a toothpaste commercial even when you're scrubbing the grout. Good luck. Your day begins at 5:45 a.m. because beauty waits for no one. Not even the Sunday. Before the family stirs, you must transform from a rumpled human into a vision of suburban serenity. Cold cream, curlers, and a foundation thicker than your patience are mandatory. The goal is to greet your husband with flawless eyeliner, fresh breath, and zero evidence that you're a mortal mammal who occasionally drools on pillows. You slip quietly out of bed, hoping not to wake anyone and set off the avalanche of needs and noises that is a 1950s household. The linoleum is cold under your feet because, of course, you took the time to mop it last night. Right before collapsing into bed in a haze of lemon-scented exhaustion, you shuffle toward the bathroom, the only place in the house where you're permitted a moment of solitude, provided you lock the door, wedge a chair under the knob, and pray the children don't attempt to pick the lock with a bobby pin. First, you confront yourself in the mirror. Your hair looks like the losing end of a tornado. Your skin is creased from the pillowcase, your breath could peel wallpaper, and your eyebrows are doing the cha-cha. But there's no time to linger. You begin the sacred rites, the cold cream cleanse, the swift and punishing splash of water, which, in winter, could be used to defrost a turkey, and the strategic application of youth in a jar. The beauty industry in 1956 is not here to coddle you. If your skin doesn't sting, you're not using enough. Now come the curlers, hot, metal, and a little bit threatening. Wrapping your hair is part skill, part Russian roulette. There's always that one rogue lock that defies gravity and social order. You secure your hair with a scarf, looking vaguely like a glamorous, sleep-deprived pirate, and move on to your face. Foundation is applied generously, almost as if you're auditioning to be a department store mannequin. Powder follows, leaving you with the matte, emotionless finish of a porcelain doll, ideal for hiding any hint that you have, at some point, experienced feelings or fatigue. Eyeliner is the final boss. A single wobble and you'll be forced to start again. This is not makeup, this is calligraphy. You draw a line as sharp as your mother-in-law's judgment, praying for steady hands and a kind universe. Mascara comes next, and it's the old school stuff. A cake you spit on and scrub with a tiny brush, then attempt to apply without blinding yourself or sneezing. You are, at this moment, both an artist and acrobat. Lips must be painted a red, so vivid it can be seen from low orbit. Matching nail polish is highly recommended, if not required by law. You must look fresh, even if you feel like you've been run over by the family station wagon. The unspoken rule: if your husband wakes up and asks if you're feeling unwell, you've failed at your one job, concealing the ravages of actual life. You finish with a spritz of perfume, just enough to cover any lingering essence of a sleepy human, not so much as to knock out a child at 20 paces. You brush your teeth for a full 2 minutes, resisting the urge to scream at the ancient bristles for making your gums bleed. And then you smile. Practice. It's important. Housewives are contractually obligated to be cheerful before sunrise. With your transformation complete, you glide into the kitchen in your prettiest robe, hair still in curlers but face beaming domestic goddess. By the time the rest of the family staggers out, you look impossibly awake and composed, like you spent the night in a refrigerator, rather than dreaming of running away to a commune in Paris. And as the first rays of morning sun filter through the gingham curtains, you take a deep breath, rehearse your good morning voice, and brace yourself for the most difficult part of the day, pretending you woke up like this, on purpose, every day, forever. It's a routine so polished and precise, NASA could set its clocks by it. Beauty, in 1956, is a full-contact sport, and you're the reigning champion. Even if no one ever gives you a medal, just another load of laundry and a peck on the cheek. Congratulations, you've survived the morning. Only 16 more hours to go. Forget cereal. A proper housewife serves eggs, bacon, pancakes, and a small existential crisis about cholesterol, all before 7 a.m. Even the grapefruit must look photogenic. Breakfast isn't a meal, it's an Olympic event where presentation counts and the toast better be square. You shuffle into the kitchen before dawn, already 2 steps behind and desperately hoping the coffee percolator can work miracles. The linoleum floor, freshly waxed to a blinding sheen, squeaks beneath your slippers as you line up the utensils with military precision. Stainless steel, always, because nothing says I love you like the cold, steely gaze of a soup spoon ready for action. The sun isn't up yet, but your anxiety is wide awake, fueled by the memory of last week's lopsided pancakes and the silent judgment of Mrs. Robinson across the street. Step 1. The tablecloth. It must be crisp, pressed, and free of any stains from last night's Jell-O disaster. Anything less, and your family will know you're slipping. Next, plates are arranged like you're staging a suburban art gallery. Flowers in the center, napkins folded in triangles sharp enough to cut glass. The 1950s aesthetic is all about order. Disorder is for communists and people who don't alphabetize their spice racks. Now, the menu. Eggs cooked to order, bacon fried but not incinerated, pancakes stacked with geometric precision, and toast, never burned, never underdone. The toaster, a chrome death trap that could short-circuit your dreams at any moment, requires the steady hands of a surgeon and the patience of a saint. If the toast comes out anything but perfectly golden, you're expected to start over. After all, nothing says good morning like the gentle hum of suppressed rage as you scrape burnt crumbs into the sink. But let's not forget the grapefruit. In the 1950s, no breakfast table was complete without a pink, precisely halved grapefruit. Each segment cut with the delicate precision of a diamond jeweler. The real challenge is making it look inviting, not like a punishment. Bonus points if you garnish it with a single maraschino cherry and a sprig of mint, because nothing wakes up a groggy family like the flavor combination of citrus, sugar, and existential confusion. Coffee is prepared in an ancient percolator that burbles, gurgles, and occasionally spits boiling water onto the countertop. You pour a perfect cup, never too strong, never too weak, coffee that's designed to wake a man but never challenge his authority. For the children, freshly squeezed orange juice, poured into glasses that are definitely not chipped. If you have time, maybe a pitcher of milk, frosty and sweating, placed in the center of the table like a dairy trophy. Breakfast is served on the dot. The family shuffles in, bleary-eyed and blissfully unaware of the orchestration that has just taken place. Your husband expects his eggs exactly as he likes them. Sunny side up, whites unblemished, yolk quivering like a soap opera star on the verge of tears. The children, still wearing the wild hair of sleep, make polite stabs at their pancakes. But you watch for signs of rebellion. Syrup on the tablecloth, toast eaten before grace, or, heaven forbid, someone requesting cereal. Small talk is encouraged, but only if it's gentle, optimistic, and free of topics like nuclear annihilation or how many times the dog escaped last week. This is your moment to shine, to look impossibly calm, while mentally calculating if you have enough eggs to last until Saturday. You smile, laugh, and pour another cup of coffee, channeling every magazine ad you've ever seen. And then, just as you think you've achieved breakfast nirvana, you spot a smear of jam on the tablecloth or a pancake that's slightly asymmetrical. The illusion wavers, but you steady yourself. Perfection is not a goal. It's an ongoing performance. The 1950s breakfast table is your stage, your arena, and occasionally your Waterloo. But for these 15 minutes, as sunlight spills across the table and the smell of bacon lingers in the air, you can almost believe the myth that a beautiful breakfast means a beautiful life, even if you know, deep down, you'll be scrubbing syrup out of the curtains until the next Eisenhower administration. Congratulations! The first hurdle is cleared. Just 17 more hours of relentless cheer and culinary warfare to go. It's time to wrestle yourself into a garment so tight it could turn coal into diamonds. The 1950s girdle promised a sleek silhouette, but delivered spontaneous fainting and ribs shaped like Doritos. If you can breathe by lunchtime, you're doing it wrong. Let's set the scene. You stand in your bedroom, curtains drawn, door firmly shut, preparing for the daily battle. On the bed, your weapon awaits. An unyielding tube of elasticized fabric and rubber, innocent, looking in pastel pink or nude, a color no actual human has ever been. Advertisements call it the miracle of modern fashion. You call it that thing lurking in my drawer like a punishment from the ancient gods. First, there's the technique. You step in, one foot, then the other, trying to remember every yoga move you've never actually learned. You shimmy, you wiggle, you do a little desperate hop, all while hoping nobody barges in to witness this ballet of panic. The girdle resists. You pull harder. At some point, you seriously consider butter. Finally, with a Herculean tug and maybe a small defeated whimper, you manage to hoist it up to your waist. Your organs have signed a non-aggression pact just to survive. The girdle's promise is a flawless, hourglass figure, with everything from belly to hips wrangled into unnatural submission. The reality is that you've compressed your internal organs into an arrangement that's never been approved by the American Medical Association. You attempt to stand up straight, but the girdle has opinions about your posture. You can either breathe, or you can look elegant, not both. Now comes the real test. Movement. Walking is a shuffle. Sitting is an adventure. Bending over is a calculated risk. Each motion is accompanied by the faintest squeak of elastic, like the world's least inspiring symphony. If you drop something, say, a bobby pin, or your last shred of dignity, it's gone forever. The girdle has spoken. Why, you may ask, did women subject themselves to this daily ordeal? Because the 1950s beauty standard was ruthless. To achieve a sleek silhouette, you needed all available artillery. Dresses were cut narrow, waists were wasp-like, and under every perfect outfit was a woman quietly reconsidering her life choices. Girdles were not just fashion accessories, they were a requirement. The ads made it sound glamorous. No more unsightly bulges. All-day comfort. But what they really meant was, welcome to the second stage of compression. Please do not attempt stairs. Breathing, as a hobby, is now optional. Meals are small, polite affairs. Your lunch consists of half a cottage cheese salad and a single celery stick. Not because you're dieting, but because you physically cannot fit more into your compressed digestive system. If you eat too much, the girdle will remind you, swiftly and with malice. It doesn't end there. By noon, you develop a faint, faraway look in your eyes. This is not serenity. It's your brain's way of coping with the lack of oxygen. Every so often, you excuse yourself to freshen up, which is code for I need to stand in the bathroom, brace myself against the sink, and seriously consider the consequences of removing this thing before dinner. As for comfort, forget it. The girdle is hot in summer, cold in winter, and always mildly clammy. The elastic sticks, pinches, and threatens to snap with the force of a slingshot. There's always the risk of an audible ping as a garter lets loose, a sound that strikes terror into even the bravest soul. And yet, for all its tortures, the girdle is non-negotiable. Not wearing one is a social offense, a crime against both femininity and the fashion police. You imagine a future where control top is a suggestion, not a demand. For now, you adjust your dress, fake a comfortable smile, and sashay into the day, with the knowledge that your dignity may be in pieces, but your silhouette is, allegedly, flawless. Congratulations. You're officially ready for the public eye, if you can make it through the front door without passing out. Your hair must defy both gravity and common sense. Curlers, pins, and approximately half a can of hairspray are needed to achieve the iconic 1950s set. The result? A shellacked helmet that could survive nuclear fallout, marital arguments, or a spontaneous bake sale. The day starts with the dull, determined clatter of curlers. Last night you slept perched on a nest of prickly plastic rollers, hoping that beauty sleep wasn't just a myth concocted by shampoo advertisements. You awaken to find your scalp tender and your dreams haunted by the ghost of your grandmother's bouffant. Removing the curlers is an exercise in faith and physics. Some hair comes along for the ride, but that's a sacrifice you're willing to make. You're going for volume, not longevity. Next, it's time to set the style, an undertaking that involves parting, teasing, and a complicated choreography of wrist flicks and deep sighs. You reach for your rat-tail comb, the wand of power in every 1950s bathroom. Backcombing, or teasing, becomes your morning cardio. Every strand must be fluffed and lifted, transformed from limp to lion's mane, all while resisting the urge to just stick your head out the window and let the wind do the work. Once the height is achieved, you begin the pinning phase, a tactical deployment of a small nation's worth of bobby pins. Each pin is wedged in with military precision, holding curls in place and anchoring any rebellious tufts that threaten your domestic dignity. You run your fingers along the shell of hair, checking for soft spots. There should be none. The goal is armor, not comfort. Your scalp tingles with the prickly, nervous anticipation of someone who knows her entire self-image is hanging on the structural integrity of a single side wave. And now, the pièce de résistance, Hairspray. The can is the size of a fire extinguisher, and you wield it with the steady hand of a surgeon or a crime scene technician preserving evidence. The smell is instantly recognizable, a mix of chemical bravado and lingering fear. You spray in clouds, careful to avoid open flames and houseplants. It's not uncommon for your cat to slink by and immediately develop a crunchy mohawk. The irony of this routine is that you're expected to look effortlessly natural. The magazines are clear. For hair that moves like you do. The secret is, your hair doesn't move at all. You've engineered a style so immobile, it could double as a bike helmet. This isn't vanity. It's survival. The 1950s were a time of pressure and precision, and nowhere is that more visible than the average woman's bathroom, now foggy with lacquer and self-doubt. You face the ultimate test, the family breakfast rush. Children tug at your skirt, toast burns, the dog tries to make off with your slipper. Through it all, your hair remains resolutely unmoved, like a monument to domestic fortitude. Your husband peers over his newspaper and murmurs, "Did you do something new with your hair?" This is not a question. It's a coded request for stability in a rapidly changing world. You nod, smile, and try not to inhale more aerosol than recommended by the FDA. Leaving the house is a victory parade. You step outside, hair gleaming in the morning sun, knowing it could repel small hail or low-flying debris. At the grocery store, you exchange glances with other women. There's a silent acknowledgement. You too have mastered the ancient art of the atomic beehive. You walk a little taller, even if your neck is starting to cramp from the extra altitude. By mid-afternoon, you risk a gentle pat to check for any collapsing sections. You might spritz a touch more hairspray, just in case the air has become humid or someone in your vicinity has sneezed. The day unfolds. Children come home. Casseroles are baked. Crises are managed. Through it all, your hair stands firm. A glossy, gravity-defying reminder that sometimes the secret to survival is a solid foundation, a few hundred pins, and enough hairspray to choke a small horse. So, as you settle in for the evening, curlers at the ready for tomorrow's battle, remember, in the world of 1950s beauty standards, a woman's hair wasn't just her crowning glory, it was her shield, her fortress, and sometimes her best line of defense. Beauty begins with a flawless canvas, achieved by layering foundation so dense it has its own weather system. Powder is patted on until your face matches the family fridge. Blush is applied with a level of calculation not seen since the moon landing. The 1950s face routine is not just about looking alive, it's about becoming a living, breathing department store mannequin. After all, a housewife's real job is to create the illusion that nothing in her world, including her pores, is out of order. You start with the vanishing cream, which does everything except actually vanish. Its main role is to ensure your skin is slick enough to ice skate on. Then comes the cold cream, because no one in 1956 trusts their face to remain attached without at least 3 layers of vaguely medicinal ointment. Next comes the main event. Foundation. It's poured, not squeezed, from a bottle that might as well have a handle. You use a sponge, your fingers, or sometimes just blind optimism, to smear it across every visible inch of skin. The goal, to erase all evidence of fatigue, humanity, or having experienced weather. You keep blending until you could confidently use your face as a movie projection screen, but you're not done. Not even close. Next, you reach for the powder. It comes in a compact the size of a manhole cover, with a puff so fluffy it could double as a throw pillow. You pat it on generously, like you're basting a turkey. The room fills with a gentle cloud, and for a moment, you and your bathroom exist inside a fine layer of scented dust. Your reflection now resembles the door of your new refrigerator, pristine, pale, and utterly devoid of fingerprints. It's time for the most strategic move, blush. This is not a casual affair. In the 1950s, blush application is closer to a covert military operation than makeup. The color must be lively but not scandalous, applied in upward strokes that suggest I've just returned from a brisk walk rather than I've just been caught shoplifting at Woolworths. The stakes are high. Too much, and you look feverish. Too little, and you appear one step from a fainting couch. Eyebrows are up next, arched, penciled, and tamed with the precision of a civil engineer. You sharpen the pencil to a lethal point and carefully outline each brow, channeling all the suppressed rage of last night's PTA meeting into a single, perfectly symmetrical curve. Eyebrows should be bold, decisive, and, ideally, visible from across a crowded church. Eyeshadow and liner require the patience of a saint and the hands of a safecracker. You choose a pale pastel, sky blue, mint green, or baby pink, because nothing says ready for the day like eyelids the color of a melted Easter basket. Liquid liner is applied with a trembling hand, the pressure mounting as you attempt to make both wings match. You will fail, of course. Every woman has one good eye, and one that looks like you tried to apply makeup while riding a bus during an earthquake. Mascara comes next. This is the era before modern tubes, so you're wielding a cake of pigment, a tiny spit brush, and sheer determination. You sweep, blink, and pray your lashes don't clump together like panicked squid. The effect is dramatic but dangerous. One sneeze, and you'll have raccoon eyes for the rest of the day. Last but never least, the lips. Lipstick in the 1950s is not a suggestion, it's an expectation. The shade must be bold, the edges crisp, and the finish so matte it could double as a blackboard. You outline, fill, blot, and repeat until your lips look like they could anchor a toothpaste commercial. For bonus points, your nails should match, your smile should never fade, and your upper lip must never, ever sweat. By the time you're finished, your face is less makeup and more monument. You are shielded, sealed, and ready to withstand not just the day, but the judgment of the entire block. You step out, radiant in your artificial perfection, your secret safe under layers of powder and perseverance. Congratulations. You are now a flawless artifact of 1950s suburbia. Just don't touch your face or sit too close to an open flame. Red lipstick isn't optional. It's the law. The only thing more shocking than leaving the house bare, lipped, is communism. Your lipstick must match your nail polish, shoes, and, if you're really winning at life, your vacuum cleaner. In the sacred hierarchy of 1950s beauty, nothing commands more respect or fear than the tube of red lipstick. It's more than a cosmetic. It's your badge of courage, your armor against the slings and arrows of daily housewifery. You might run out of coffee, milk, or the will to live, but you do not run out of red lipstick. There is always a spare in your purse, another in your kitchen drawer, and an emergency tube stashed in the glove compartment of the Chevy. Just in case you're ambushed by a surprise bake sale or an unexpected drop-in from your mother-in-law. The daily ritual begins after your face is already plastered with foundation and powdered to the consistency of cake flour. You uncap the lipstick with reverence, like a priest unsheathing a holy relic. The color? Fire engine red, cherry flame, or for the truly bold, siren. Whatever the name, it must be unapologetically vivid. Subtlety is for communists and women who have given up on themselves entirely. A proper housewife would sooner wear mismatched socks than be caught in a nude lip. Application is an act of devotion. First, you trace the outline of your lips with a pencil so sharp it could sign a ceasefire. You draw just beyond your natural shape for drama, as taught in every magazine and mother's whispered advice. Then comes the first pass, sweeping color from corner to corner in one bold stroke, followed by a careful blot on a tissue, and a second coat for lasting power. Pro tip: if your lipstick isn't visible from across the street, you're not trying hard enough. Matching your lipstick is a full-time job in itself. The rules are clear. Nail polish, shoes, belt, and even the trim on your apron should all coordinate in the exact same shade of defiant red. If you're truly a master, your vacuum cleaner sports a snazzy red stripe as well, a silent nod to your unbroken domestic spirit. Some women even buy matching kitchen appliances. Is it practical? Of course not. Is it necessary? Absolutely. Red lipstick has superpowers. It says, I'm awake. I'm in control. I absolutely did not just cry in the laundry room over a burned casserole. It's a shield against nosy neighbors and the ever-present judgment of Mrs. Peterson, who claims she wakes up looking like that, but who you know for a fact is on her third tube this week. The color red is more than fashion. It's social camouflage. When you step outside with perfectly painted lips, you're telling the world that you are competent, composed, and possibly dangerous if provoked before your morning coffee. But beware the pitfalls. Lipstick must never stray. One smudge, and the facade crumbles. You patrol your reflection in every available surface: spoon, window, toaster, your child's forehead. Touch-ups are a regular event, usually done in the car mirror while balancing 3 bags of groceries and fending off a rogue curl. Your lipstick may survive a nuclear apocalypse, but a single sip from a coffee cup can bring disaster. At social events, lipstick is a litmus test for sanity and self-discipline. By the end of a dinner party, you'll find women reapplying in clusters, trading shades and secrets like seasoned spies. Red lipstick binds you to a secret sisterhood of sufferers, each one upholding the law, one swipe at a time. By bedtime, after the children are in pajamas and your husband is reading the sports section, you finally wipe away what's left. The color on the tissue is a badge of survival. Another day, another battle, another victory for the home front. You might go to bed bare-lipped, but only after the lights are off and no one can see. So sleep well, knowing that tomorrow the first thing you'll reach for is your trusty tube of red. Because in the world of 1950s suburbia, perfection starts with a smile and ends with a smear of courage in a little gold case. Underneath your floral dress lurks a bullet bra, engineering marvel and stealth weapon. The sharper the angle, the higher your status. Modern comfort is for communists. Welcome to the clandestine world of the 1950s undergarment arms race. A place where the battle lines are drawn not with fabric, but with geometry. You begin each morning by wrangling yourself into a contraption that looks less like lingerie and more like something a medieval blacksmith would hesitate to produce. The goal? To transform your natural curves into a pair of aerodynamic wonders that could, in theory, receive radio signals or possibly wound a careless dance partner. The process is anything but romantic. Your bullet bra is stitched together from layers of stiff cotton and elastic, designed to hoist, separate, and point due north at all times. It's less about support and more about projection. You try not to make eye contact with it as you fasten the tiny, industrial-grade hooks, the sound echoing in the pre-dawn silence like the arming of distant artillery. For added flair, you might select a bra with whirlpool stitching, a hypnotic spiral pattern promising both support and low-level hypnosis for anyone who stares too long. Once you're locked and loaded, you slide on your dress, standing a little straighter because there is now actual architecture propping up your self-esteem. The effect is immediate and dramatic. Your silhouette has become a cultural achievement, a marvel of post-war optimism and Cold War paranoia, sending a clear signal: this is a woman who takes her foundations seriously. You could smuggle secret documents under there, and honestly, no one would ever dare look. Wearing a bullet bra in the 1950s is not about comfort. These bras were designed before anyone thought to ask a woman if she wanted to breathe, bend over, or, heaven forbid, hug her own children without risking an eye injury. The underwires creak and groan, the seams itch. Your posture transforms from tired housewife to unwilling drum major in about 30 seconds flat. Sitting down requires planning. Hugging your husband is a calculated risk. You quickly develop the habit of checking your clearance before leaning in for a kiss. Of course, society isn't just aware of your cone bra, it demands it. The fashion magazines of the day rave about the new silhouette, the latest evolution in breast-forward engineering. Movie stars like Marilyn Monroe and Jane Mansfield are plastered on every billboard, their pointy bust lines promising a kind of happiness that can only be measured in cubic inches. You can try to rebel, but go braless in a room full of suburban women, and you'll be accused of starting a countercultural revolution, or, worse, a PTA scandal. Every woman secretly knows, the sharper your silhouette, the sharper your social standing. Entire friendships are made or broken in dressing rooms based on the angle achieved. The pointy bra becomes the great equalizer at garden clubs and bridge nights. Women exchange whispers about starching techniques and the merits of padding versus pure willpower. Some even swap horror stories about wardrobe malfunctions, like a snapped strap sending a dinner roll flying across the church potluck. At the end of the day, you peel off your bullet bra with the same reverence and relief as a knight unbuckling armor. The red grooves on your shoulders are a badge of honor, a reminder that you survived another day in a world where curves were less about nature and more about defiance. You might fantasize about soft cotton bralettes, but that's a dream for another century. So tonight, as you hang your bullet bra on its special hook, know this: you've played your part in the pointiest pageant of all. Sleep easy. Tomorrow, you'll do it all again. Strapping in, standing tall, and staying sharp, one impossible angle at a time. Scrubbing floors, make sure your dress is pressed, your pearls are on, and your shoes have a sensible heel, preferably just high enough to make falling down the stairs seem glamorous. This is not a drill. In the 1950s, the expectation is clear. Every chore is an event, and you are both star and stagehand. Gone are the days when an old shirt and pajama pants were the uniform of the working woman. Here, the housewife dons her freshest shirtwaist dress, a marvel of synthetic fibers and questionable breathability, just to mop up a mystery spill under the fridge. Forget comfort, the world outside, and your mother-in-law is watching. And you never know when someone might drop by to borrow a cup of sugar, judge your curtains, and casually mention how put together you look. Even while dusting, you begin the day's labors in a dress that has been ironed into submission, starched until it can practically stand up on its own. Bonus points if your apron matches. This is not just about appearances. This is about discipline. Fashion magazines and etiquette books insist that looking your best, even while sweeping, is a reflection of your pride in the home. In reality, it's a test of your ability to hide stress sweat behind a crisp collar and a string of imitation pearls. Shoes are a separate ordeal. The sensible heel of the era is less about arch support and more about arch envy. The goal is to look dainty, not functional. Ballet flats? only if you want the neighbor children to think you're eccentric. Instead, you slip into a pair of low pumps, because nothing says ready for action like buffing the linoleum while balancing on half an inch of faux leather. If you hear the mailman at the door, you can pivot gracefully, pirouetting your way to the mailbox, all while maintaining the illusion that you could run a 4-minute mile if you wanted. You just don't want to, because that would wrinkle your skirt. And, of course, no look is complete without jewelry. Pearls are required, the bigger the better. These luminous beads serve no practical purpose. But if the phone rings while you're elbow deep in suds, you must answer it like a debutante who just happens to be fighting mildew. Rings, bracelets, and maybe a brooch for extra flair. Every accessory whispers, "I woke up like this." Even if you were up at dawn battling the ironing board. As you move from task to task, you learn the choreography of keeping clean while cleaning. You master the apron switch, flipping a fresh apron over a stained one if company calls. You become a ninja at hiding bleach spots under strategically tied sashes. If disaster strikes and you snag your dress on a drawer handle, you simply retouch with a dab of lipstick and keep going. There's no time for despair. There's only a schedule, a smile, and the creeping suspicion that the dog is judging you for dusting the TV in heels. In the 1950s, chores aren't a private affair. They are a performance. The open-plan home means every window is a stage and every passerby a critic. You keep the radio playing softly in the background, humming along with Doris Day while you wield a feather duster like a magic wand. There's a relentless optimism to it, a cheerful denial of fatigue, boredom, or any desire to just wear sweatpants and call it a day. By evening, you've swapped 3 dresses, one for morning, one for afternoon, and one for unexpected guests. Your feet are aching, your pearls have survived 2 soap splashes, and your dress is still holding its shape, a testament to the marvels of mid-century laundering and sheer willpower. You collapse onto the sofa, poised, legs crossed at the ankle, never the knee. You're not a revolutionary. You are exhausted. Yes, but if anyone asks, you're simply resting elegantly. You have mastered the 1950s art of looking immaculate while doing the dirtiest work imaginable. Congratulations! You've survived the day's chores, pressed, polished, and pretending not to notice the spaghetti sauce on your hem. And remember, in 1950s suburbia, even the dust bunnies have standards. You own more aprons than you do friends. Each is embroidered, starched, and worn like medieval armor. The fancier the apron, the higher your place in the neighborhood pecking order. In the 1950s, the apron is not just a kitchen accessory, it's your daily shield, social signal, and sometimes the only thing standing between you and public disgrace. Forget functional fashion. This is competitive costuming. You begin each morning by surveying your arsenal. Ruffled hostess aprons for coffee mornings, floral print for laundry day, gingham for a casual vacuuming, and the formidable white linen with hand-crocheted trim for when you need to let the other housewives know who's in charge. Somewhere in the back of your closet, you have the apron equivalent of full battle regalia, double pockets, scalloped edges, and enough embroidery to make a French chateau blush. Putting on your apron is not unlike donning a superhero cape, except this one has a tea towel loop and a hidden pocket for bobby pins. You tie it with a flourish, smoothing the front and adjusting the straps until it sits just right. A crooked bow could tank your whole morning. Aprons are starched within an inch of their lives, crisp enough to rustle when you walk, practically demanding respect from both dust motes and the postman. But the real battle begins when you step outside, apron still on, of course, to water the roses or retrieve the mail. This is no accident. It's an open invitation for other women to clock your handiwork. Your neighbor, Mrs. Evans, gives you the once-over from behind her lace curtains. Will she notice the new applique along the hem? Will she bring it up at the next Tupperware party? The tension is palpable. At any given neighborhood gathering, you're sure to find a silent competition in progress. Aprons are compared with the intensity of arms inspectors. One-upmanship is rampant. Someone's cousin sends an apron all the way from Paris, Texas. But who's checking? Another woman claims to have sewn hers from the remnants of last year's curtains, a thrifty move that inspires awe or suspicion depending on your position in the neighborhood hierarchy. The unspoken rules are many. Never wear the same apron 2 days in a row, never let your ruffles sag, and, above all, never allow a grease stain to set. A single splotch and you're on social probation until the next potluck. Hostess aprons deserve special mention, a genre unto themselves, sheer and insubstantial, utterly useless for protection, but invaluable for signaling that you own at least 3 good sets of china and possibly a real silver tea service. You slip into one before company arrives, fluttering about with a practiced nonchalance as if you simply threw it on without a second thought. You don't actually cook in a hostess apron. You glide, you serve, you supervise. The only thing you battle in these is the urge to sit down for 5 minutes without anyone asking you for another glass of punch. The apron's magic extends beyond appearances. Its pockets carry everything: clothespins, safety pins, recipe cards, and, on especially chaotic days, a consolatory peppermint or two. Some aprons are the family archive, bearing stains from past triumphs: blueberry pie, spaghetti sauce, chocolate birthday cake. Each mark is both a scar and a badge of honor, a secret record of survival. At the end of the day, you untie your apron and hang it with care, already thinking about tomorrow's choice. Will you go with ruffles or straight lines, daisies or cherries? The stakes are high. In the grand suburban saga, aprons are more than just fabric. They are status, strategy, and a declaration that, no matter what life throws your way, you're ready to take it on with style, starch, and a really great pocket. Congratulations. You've survived another round in the battle of the aprons. Sleep well. Tomorrow brings new stains, new gossip, and the eternal quest for the perfectly pressed bow. Every chore is a chance to showcase grace under pressure. Vacuuming is done with a smile. Dusting is ballet. If you break a sweat, you're doing it wrong. Or at least, don't let anyone see you. Welcome to the mid-century suburban stage, where the humble act of cleaning the house is elevated to a full-scale production. You're not just scrubbing floors, you're starring in an endless matinee, complete with costume changes, set decoration, and a constant audience of nosy neighbors, in-laws, and the occasional Avon lady. In the 1950s, housework isn't merely a necessity. It's an art form, and you are expected to pirouette through it all with unflappable charm. You start the day by setting the mood. Curtains drawn back to let the sunlight catch every speck of dust you missed yesterday. A little radio music, something peppy, never too modern, serves as your overture. With your prettiest apron tied and your hair shellacked into place, you glide into the living room, ready to perform. Vacuuming, the centerpiece of any cleaning routine, is more than a utilitarian task. It's a spectacle. The vacuum cleaner, an enormous, chrome-plated beast that weighs roughly as much as a second grader, becomes your dance partner. You sway and swirl, cord in one hand, nozzle in the other, practicing the backwards dip perfected by generations of women before you. The trick is to look serene, even as you battle for dominance with a machine that threatens to devour curtains, rug fringe, and, occasionally, your self-respect. The smile must not fade. Not even when you accidentally unplug the thing for the 5th time. Dusting comes next. And this is where the artistry truly shines. Feather duster in hand. You move with the precision of a seasoned ballerina. Light on your toes. Graceful at every turn. There's choreography to it. A gentle flick across the mantle. A delicate sweep under the lamp. A pirouette around the coffee table. You even hum as you go, convinced that if you dust quickly enough, you can pretend you're starring in a musical rather than conducting a one-woman war on allergens. Polishing the silver is your solo act, a demonstration of patience, perseverance, and the ability to avoid existential despair as you rub tarnish off utensils no one actually uses. Windows are wiped with a flourish. Each streak a personal insult. Each clear pane a small victory. You know the real test will come later, when sunlight exposes the spots you missed, and the children press their faces against the glass, undoing your hard work in seconds. The entire process is underpinned by one simple truth. Visible effort is not allowed. If a neighbor stops by, you must appear as if you're simply straightening up, never truly exerting yourself. Real housewives don't sweat. They glow, preferably while arranging flowers or fluffing pillows. If you feel a drop roll down your temple, you brush it away as if it were a stray eyelash, and you keep moving. This commitment to effortless presentation extends to the family. Children are shooed into the yard so you can tidy in peace. But if they wander back in, you immediately break into your best cheerful helper routine. Your husband returns home to find you as composed at 5 p.m. as you were at 7 a.m., not a hair out of place, lipstick unsmudged, house gleaming like the inside of a new toaster. The irony, of course, is that behind every performance is an undercurrent of exhaustion and longing for a recliner and a cold glass of lemonade. But in 1950s suburbia, housework is judged not just by results, but by the composure you maintain along the way. And so you bow to your imaginary audience, curtsy with your dustpan, and accept the silent applause of generations of housewives who've swept, scrubbed, and smiled their way through the same endless routine. Congratulations! You've made it through another act, graceful, gleaming, and absolutely glowing, with zero visible effort, of course. Hot wax, cold cream, tweezers, razors, you name it. You risk life, limb, and eyebrow symmetry every morning in a quest to achieve skin smoother than a 1950s TV host. Welcome to the shadowy underworld of 1950s beauty, where a single rogue hair can spell social disaster. Here, personal grooming is less about comfort and more about survival. You begin your morning ablutions armed with tools that wouldn't look out of place in a medieval torture chamber. Slant-tipped tweezers, single-blade safety razors, pots of wax you're instructed to warm gently. Never mind that the last time you tried, you boiled half the kitchen. And a mysterious pink depilatory cream that smells faintly of regret and chemicals. Step 1. The razor. No multi-blade. Aloe. Infused comfort here. You wield a chrome and bakelite relic that demands total focus and steady hands. The process involves lathering up with soap that dries your skin to parchment, dragging the blade at a precise angle, and praying you don't nick your ankle and bleed out on the bath mat. Shaving your knees is a daredevil stunt worthy of the circus. Miss a spot and you'll know it by lunchtime, when your hose snags or a well-meaning neighbor points out a shadow. Next, the tweezers. Your eyebrows are expected to arch in a perfect expression of serene, housewifely composure. You squat under the harsh glow of the bathroom vanity, squinting and plucking with increasing urgency as time ticks away. Get overzealous and you'll end up with surprised brows for weeks. Go too easy and you'll be accused of letting yourself go. If you manage to get both sides to match, you briefly consider leaving the house and running for public office. But don't linger. One extra hair, one accidental twitch, and you'll spend the rest of the week penciling in your dignity. Now comes the wax. The 1950s recipe involves a home-brewed concoction, usually some mix of beeswax and vague optimism, heated over the stove. You test the temperature by dipping your pinky and immediately regret your choices. Apply the wax, brace yourself, and rip. If you don't scream, you get extra points. If you do scream, simply blame it on the radio. The pain is immediate, followed by a slow burning awareness that you may have removed several layers of skin and possibly a past life. Depilatory creams offer a different experience, equal parts hope and chemical warfare. You spread the pink paste, wait the prescribed 4 to 6 minutes, then scrape it off and pray you haven't accidentally dissolved your shins. The smell lingers for hours, a reminder that beauty is pain and the pursuit of smooth legs is eternal. Let's not forget cold cream, marketed as both a cleanser and a facial hair remover. Though it does neither particularly well, you massage it into your upper lip, stare at your reflection, and hope no one barges in to witness the process. The cold cream does its best, but ultimately you finish the job with a tiny razor or the world's smallest pair of scissors, your face locked in a rictus of concentration. In the 1950s, even arm hair is suspicious. Magazines offer helpful hints about bleaching unsightly fuzz, resulting in forearms striped like a calico cat. Underarm hair is an absolute scandal. You shave daily, sometimes twice, and spritz on enough floral deodorant to stun a pollinator. Any lapse, and you'll spend the day with your arms glued to your sides, praying no one asks you to reach for the salt at dinner. Through all of this, you're expected to emerge from the bathroom fresh, smooth, and unbothered, as if hairlessness were your natural state. No nicks, no stubble, and definitely no confessions of how you actually got there. If you do it right, no one ever knows you fought this secret war. If you do it wrong, well, there's always cold cream and a headscarf. Congratulations. You've survived another morning of perilous grooming, your skin as smooth as a TV anchor's, and your eyebrows mostly even. Sleep tight tonight. Tomorrow, the battle begins anew. Nails must be shaped, painted, and unchipped at all times. Doing dishes without gloves is an act of heroism. Dishpan hands are a social death sentence. Welcome to one of the lesser-known but deadliest battlegrounds of 1950s suburbia. The fight for flawless fingertips. In this world, a chipped nail is more scandalous than an overdrawn checking account. Housewives gather for coffee and covertly scan one another's hands, searching for the telltale ragged cuticle or missing topcoat that signals a woman on the verge of social collapse. Your day begins at the kitchen table, cuticle trimmer in one hand, steely resolve in the other. The manicure kit is less a box of tools and more a surgeon's tray. Orange sticks, buffers, emery boards, tiny scissors sharp enough to perform microsurgery on a grape. You soak your fingers in lukewarm water scented with rose or, on difficult days, desperation. One by one, you push back cuticles, trim the rogue skin, file each nail into the precise almond shape recommended by every magazine from Good Housekeeping to Modern Torture Monthly. Then comes the polish. The 1950s shade range is limited but strict. Rosy pinks, fire engine reds, and the occasional coral for summer. You select your color, swirling the tiny glass bottle like you're about to cast a spell. Application is an exercise in mindfulness. Thin coats, steady hands, absolute silence. Breathing is not recommended. One slip, one streak, and you'll be scrubbing acetone under your nails for the rest of the week. 2 coats minimum, followed by a top coat so glossy you could check your lipstick in it. The drying process is its own form of psychological torture. You sit, hands elevated like a surgeon about to operate, while the children careen through the living room and the dog eyes your lap with ill intent. You're not allowed to touch anything. You're barely allowed to breathe. And just when the polish is almost set, the phone rings. Your choices: sacrifice the manicure or your reputation for rudeness. You answer the phone, balancing the receiver on your shoulder, praying the sweat on your brow won't smudge your newly minted claws. But this is only the beginning. The true test comes in the kitchen, where the enemies are many and the weapons few. Peeling potatoes, opening cans, scrubbing pans. Every task is a calculated risk. Dishwashing gloves, in theory, are your armor. But they're always 2 sizes too big or already torn at the thumb. The moment you try to wash a greasy skillet barehanded, the clock starts ticking. Dishpan hands, those red, cracked badges of overwork, are the mark of defeat, and every neighbor, mother-in-law, and beauty columnist is watching. So you adapt. You perfect the art of picking up dropped items with your knuckles, pressing buttons with the side of your hand, and opening packages with your teeth. In the privacy of the pantry, of course, you hand off the hardest chores to the children, who are less likely to be shamed for sporting a jagged edge. If all else fails, you dab on a fresh coat of polish before anyone arrives, blowing frantically on your fingertips and praying the scent doesn't give you away. Weekly, you gather for the holy rite of the neighborhood manicure session, each woman hiding her hands in her lap until the very last second. Stories are exchanged, tips are shared, and everyone pretends that maintaining a flawless manicure is just a little thing, nothing to lose sleep over. But you know the truth. The manicure trap is real, and you are its most recent, shining victim. Every perfect nail is a monument to your patience, stealth, and sheer willpower. Congratulations. Your hands have survived another day, unbroken, unchipped, and ready to be judged anew at tomorrow's coffee hour. And if all else fails, there's always next week's shade of pink. If your stockings have a run, you might as well declare bankruptcy. Spare pairs are stashed around the house like emergency fire extinguishers. Welcome to the minefield that is 1950's hosiery, where a woman's entire reputation hangs by a single, fragile filament of nylon. You wake up each morning knowing that somewhere in your future, fate is planning an ambush. Maybe it's the sharp edge of the kitchen drawer, a rogue nail on the banister, or a child's toy with vendetta-level jagged corners. Whatever the cause, you know that one wrong move could unleash a disaster so public, so humiliating, you'll be forced to invent a sudden illness and stay inside for a week. Pulling on stockings is itself an act of hope. You sit at the edge of the bed, carefully rolling each nylon tube down, slipping your toes in, and inching the fabric up your leg with the delicate touch of a safecracker. Breathe too hard, and you'll hear the faint, unmistakable snap. A run has started, and there's no going back. The sound of nylon laddering is the soundtrack of suburban nightmares. Each pair of stockings is precious. They're kept in their own drawer, separated by color and level of shininess, sometimes stored in tissue paper like family heirlooms. When the department store runs a sale, you're there, elbows out, wrestling with other housewives for the last package of sheer glow, pale bisque. A wise woman keeps a backup pair in her purse, another in the car, and an emergency stash in the kitchen junk drawer for those times when the doorbell rings and you suddenly remember you're still wearing yesterday's pair, now held together by hope and a little clear nail polish. Because yes, there are tricks. Clear nail polish is the duct tape of the hosiery world. A dab on a new run can stop the ladder from climbing for a few hours, at least. But it's a temporary fix, and everyone knows it. There's also the technique of rotating the stockings back to front, left to right, to hide minor flaws, like a magician with something to hide. Only the brave, or the desperate, attempt to sew a run shut with a needle and thread. Most just pray for a distraction if things get truly out of hand. Then there's the color coordination. Not only must your stockings be run free, they must also be the right shade. Pearl for daytime, smoke for evening, suntan for those who dare to fake a little California in Cleveland. Heaven help you if you show up at the PTA in mismatched seams. There are whispers, and you will become a cautionary tale. Did you see Betty's ankles? For weeks to come, stockings in the 1950s are not just clothing, they're a social contract. Bare legs are considered scandalous. Unless you're at the beach. And even then, someone's mother-in-law is quietly judging. If you're caught out in public with a visible run, you smile and pretend you haven't noticed, walking quickly and hoping no one will catch a glimpse. Children are often recruited to keep an eye out. Let me know if you see a run, dear, and I'll buy you an extra scoop of ice cream. At the end of a long day, you peel your stockings off with a sigh of relief, inspecting them for damage. If they've survived, they're carefully hand-washed, draped over the bathroom radiator, and whispered a quiet thank you. If not, you mourn briefly before tossing them and resolving to check for sales at Woolworths on Saturday. Congratulations, you've survived another day without hosiery-induced disgrace. You are nimble, vigilant, and always prepared for disaster. Tomorrow's a new day, a new pair, and a new chance to avoid the subtle social ruin of the runaway ladder. Sleep well, legs, you've earned it. Each day's aroma is a carefully blended cocktail of gardenia, despair, and the faint chemical tang of Aquanet. The goal is to smell expensive, not human. The 1950s nose is a sensitive organ, and every housewife is expected to weaponize it. Perfume isn't just a beauty product. It's a suit of armor, a social shield, a gas mask for all the other strange odors lurking beneath the surface of a perfect home. You rise each morning and, after scrubbing, powdering, and painting every inch of visible skin, you approach your vanity to select your fragrance for the day. Is it a busy Thursday, light floral, or a company's coming? Aggressive musk with an undertone of citrus panic. The stakes are high. You're not merely trying to smell good. A busy Thursday, you're trying to send a message. I am refined, feminine, and possibly descended from French royalty. Choosing a scent is a subtle art. Your collection is arranged by occasion, little atomizers and cut glass bottles with mysterious names. Evening in Paris, white shoulders, Shalimar. A single drop goes behind each ear, on the wrists, and, for the truly daring, a dab at the pulse point of the neck, where all the tension of your day gathers like storm clouds. You are careful not to overdo it. Too much perfume and you're that woman. Everyone remembers the one who nearly knocked out an entire bridge club with a single waft of taboo. The truth is, every scent comes with its own backstory. Gardenia means you've read every etiquette column since birth. Rose says you're delicate, demure, and definitely not hiding a half-eaten donut in the linen closet. Jasmine suggests mysterious, possibly dangerous, but it doesn't really matter because after a few hours, every note is undercut by the persistent base of Aquanet, a smell that defies logic, lingers in drapes, and probably shortens the life of houseplants within a 3-foot radius. Perfume is expected to mask not only the natural aromas of hard work and living, but also the entire olfactory landscape of the mid-century American home. This includes the lingering whiff of last night's fried chicken, the musty undertone of damp wool, a soupçon of wet dog, and the unmistakable bouquet of existential panic as you realize the in-laws are staying the weekend. No matter what, you must project the effortless illusion that you just emerged from a meadow, not a marathon of laundry and meatloaf. Applying perfume is a ritual in itself. The process involves holding your breath, spritzing, and then running through the invisible cloud so that you're evenly coated but not soaked. Some women swear by the perfume cloud method, which mostly just leaves your bathroom smelling like a funeral parlor. Others dab with cotton balls, or, in a moment of desperation, a spare clean sock. If you sneeze, you start over. Social survival means constant vigilance. On special occasions, you top up your scent before guests arrive, performing a quick sniff check in the hallway mirror. If you're going to a party, the perfume must be strong enough to linger after you've left, like a calling card or a gentle threat. At church, you aim for subtlety. No one wants to be the reason Mrs. Higgins faints in the second pew. Yet, for all its importance, perfume is a double-edged sword. Too much, and you're a cautionary tale. Too little, and someone will kindly suggest you look tired. There is no winning, only survival. By bedtime, your carefully selected bouquet has mingled with detergent, casserole, and the sweet relief of impending unconsciousness. You dab on a little night cream, lavender if you're feeling extravagant, and climb into bed hoping tomorrow's scent will bring better luck, fewer surprises, and maybe, just maybe, a compliment. Congratulations. You've made it through another day in the scented trenches of 1950s suburbia. Rest easy, and let the last notes of gardenia and resolve carry you off to sleep. You are required to get 8 hours of restful beauty sleep on a mattress designed to punish the lumbar region. Night creams are applied, curlers are donned, and your dreams are haunted by visions of Tupperware. In the 1950s, sleep is less about rest and more about preparation for another round in the suburban gladiator arena. You begin the nighttime ritual hours before anyone actually intends to go to bed. There's cleansing, toning, moisturizing, and the slow, meditative application of a night cream so thick it could be used to seal driveways. The magazine says it prevents wrinkles, but you're pretty sure it just glues your face to the pillowcase until morning. Next comes the sacred donning of curlers, a task requiring equal parts dexterity, patience, and the pain tolerance of a medieval martyr. Each plastic roller is twisted in with military precision, transforming your head into a landscape of pastel spikes. You're told this is the secret to waking up with perfect hair. In reality, it's the secret to waking up every hour with a crick in your neck and a deep, philosophical resentment toward the beauty industry. The only thing more dangerous than sleeping in curlers is attempting to sleep without them and risking flat hair in the morning, a social sin on par with letting your child wear mismatched socks to church. Then, you select your sleepwear. The proper housewife does not simply collapse into bed in an oversized t-shirt and yesterday's mascara. Instead, you slip into a matching pajama set, or, if you're feeling ambitious, a starched, ruffled nightgown that is only slightly more comfortable than being tucked into bed with a picnic tablecloth. Slippers are set neatly beside the bed, ready for a midnight dash to check on a suspicious noise or a spontaneous existential crisis in the kitchen. You dim the lights, fluff the pillows, 2 per person, minimum, and make sure the windows are cracked just enough for fresh air, but not enough to let in gossip or dust. The mattress beneath you is a relic of a pre-orthopedic age, stuffed with whatever the factory swept off the floor, offering support in the sense that it prevents you from falling through to the basement. Lying down is less a luxury and more an exercise in creative posture. Side sleeper? Stomach sleeper? It doesn't matter. In this era, You sleep exactly how your mattress allows, awkwardly, with a mild ache and a prayer that tomorrow's beauty rest will actually restore your face to its former glory. Of course, sleep itself is a competitive sport. Magazines warn of the horrors of sleep wrinkles and pillow face. You're instructed to rest on your back, hands folded like a Victorian ghost, to avoid squishing your cheeks. Tossing and turning is discouraged. The only thing worse than puffy eyes in the morning is the shame of knowing you brought it on yourself with a night of undisciplined tossing. If you're lucky, you drift off to the gentle tick of the bedside clock and the distant sound of your husband snoring like a lawnmower in the next county. Your dreams are a strange medley. Part shopping list, part dinner party anxiety, and part high-speed chase involving a rogue jello mold. Somewhere in the night, you wake to the gentle ache of a curler pressing against your scalp. A reminder that beauty, like comfort, is fleeting and never comes without sacrifice. By morning, you emerge from your cotton chrysalis, eyes puffy, hair arranged in a shape that is best described as intentional, and skin faintly sticky with the residue of last night's industrial-grade moisturizer. Did you sleep well? Irrelevant. You survived another night in the trenches of beauty, and that's what matters. Congratulations. You've made it through another round of beauty sleep. One more battle won in this endless war against gravity, time, and the existential threat of unsightly pillow creases. Rest easy, if you can. Tomorrow, the competition starts again. Forget Big Brother. In 1950s suburbia, Mrs. Johnson across the street is watching. Her weapon of choice, polite, soul-shattering gossip about your split ends or visible ankle. In this pastel-colored, perfectly trimmed world, your real alarm clock isn't the radio, it's the first twitch of a curtain from across the cul-de-sac. The minute you step outside, you are no longer a private citizen. You are the unwilling star of the neighborhood's favorite reality show, suburban surveillance. Every decision you make, what you wear to collect the mail, how crisp your sheets look on laundry day, the precise angle of your rose bushes, will be quietly noted, analyzed, and relayed over coffee before you've even finished making the beds. Neighbors are the local chapter of the beauty police, and the leader is always the one with the most symmetrical hedges and the cleanest storm door. Mrs. Johnson is relentless. She sees everything. The time you brought out the garbage without lipstick? Noted. The one morning you skipped curlers and looked, for a brief moment, like an actual living human. That's been filed in her mental archive under concerning. Her husband, meanwhile, acts as a roving informant, pretending to water the lawn while collecting updates on whose driveway has the most oil stains. Every interaction is fraught with double meaning. A simple, "My, isn't it breezy today?" actually means, "I saw your laundry on the line, and that slip has seen better days." Compliments on your casserole are rarely about food. They are coded appraisals of your ability to compete in the daily Olympics of domesticity. Your front garden is looking lively. Might just mean I noticed you didn't deadhead the petunias last Thursday. Gossip moves faster than a '57 Chevy with a tailwind. A single slip-up, a wrinkled dress, a wilted corsage, a laugh that's half a decibel too loud, travels the block at the speed of light, acquiring flourishes along the way. By the time you hear about your own social misstep, it's evolved into a legend. Perhaps you once wore open-toed shoes in February. Now the story is that you're plotting a full-blown revolution against seasonal fashion. The standards are relentless and the categories are infinite. How often do you sweep your porch? Do your children's socks match? Is your Jell-O salad set to the appropriate degree of jiggle? And heaven help you if your husband mows the lawn in a zigzag. The resulting commentary will last through 3 generations and at least 1 church newsletter. This is not merely about beauty, either. Moral character is measured in inches of skirt hem and shininess of windows. Children are coached to address Mrs. Johnson as ma'am, and to avoid eye contact with anyone whose rhododendrons are overgrown. You yourself develop ninja skills, ducking behind curtains to apply emergency lipstick, perfecting the art of sneaking to the mailbox at the exact moment Mrs. Johnson's favorite radio program comes on. The only defense against the relentless scrutiny is to maintain your own network. You swap tips, stories, and the occasional piece of sabotage with allies, Mrs. Carter, who can sense a coming scandal 3 houses away, or Mrs. Lee, who once successfully wore the same dress twice in a week without anyone noticing, a feat for which local legend still honors her. By the end of the day, you're not just tired, you're emotionally exfoliated, but you've survived. Tomorrow you'll polish the mailbox, starch the curtains, and maybe, just maybe, catch Mrs. Johnson in her bathrobe through the living room window. A small, silent victory. Congratulations! You have weathered another day under the watchful gaze of 1950s suburbia. Sleep well, but not too late. Your neighbors will notice. The trip to the A&P is less about food and more about who can wear heels on linoleum the longest without weeping. You may be picking up ground beef, but your mascara better be on point. In 1950s suburbia, grocery shopping is not a mundane errand. It's a full-scale public exhibition. Before you so much as touch a shopping list, you spend at least 15 minutes selecting an outfit. Nothing too fancy, that's for bridge club, but absolutely nothing that suggests you might ever perspire. You opt for a crisp dress in cheerful plaid, a freshly starched apron just for show, and of course, sensible heels, high enough to demand respect, low enough to outrun gossip. Before leaving the house, there is the all-important check in the hallway mirror. Lipstick bold, curls helmeted, pearls clasped, and gloves, yes, gloves, spotless. You don't just stroll into the A&P. You glide, channeling the spirit of Grace Kelly with a dash of Eisenhower-era anxiety. Handbag in the crook of your arm. You're ready for anything. Price checks, double coupons, or a surprise run. In with Mrs. Johnson, who, let's face it, is everywhere. As you enter the store, the cold blast of air conditioning hits your perfectly powdered face. You steady yourself on the polished linoleum, praying your heels don't slip and send you sliding past the produce aisle into a pyramid of grapefruits. The grocery store is a runway and obstacle course in equal measure. Cart selection is strategic. You need one that doesn't squeak or list to one side, lest you draw attention to yourself for the wrong reasons. Every aisle is a stage. You push your cart with one hand, careful not to chip your nails or scuff your shoes. Eyes forward, back straight, no slouching, no sighing, and definitely no visible struggle with the 10-pound sack of flour. As you select your produce, you pretend to ponder the relative merits of Idaho versus Yukon gold potatoes, all while scanning the competition. Mrs. Evans is comparing canned peas, her hair immovable, and her smile calculated. Little Tommy from down the street is hanging off the end of his mother's cart, ready to shout your business to the entire store at the drop of a hat. The unspoken rules are everywhere. Never linger too long in the frozen foods. People will think you're unprepared. If you forget an item and must circle back, act as if it's all part of your plan, and when you reach for the top shelf, do so with the delicate precision of a ballerina. Never, ever expose a wrinkled hem or, heaven forbid, a slip. Of course, there is the checkout line, the true crucible. Here, your cart's contents are on display, subject to the silent judgment of every woman in a 10-foot radius. Too many convenience foods? Shameful. Too few? Try hard. You casually mention that you're just picking up a few things for Sunday's roast. Never mind that you're surviving on casseroles and nerves. As the cashier rings up your items, you maintain pleasant small talk and pray your coupons are organized by expiration date. If a single one is out of order, you may as well hand over your pearls and join the witness protection program. The journey home is a triumph or a trial, depending on the day's encounters. You return victorious if you navigated the produce with grace, exchanged the requisite compliments on Mrs. Johnson's new hairdo, and made it back to the car with your dignity and your lipstick intact. Congratulations! You've conquered another round of grocery shopping as suburban spectacle. Take off your heels, put up your feet, and allow yourself the forbidden luxury of a single, silent sigh. You've earned it. Your hair is not just a style, it's a social event. A weekly visit to the beauty salon is required to catch up on gossip, touch up your do, and contemplate the meaninglessness of it all while under a heat lamp. In the 1950s, a trip to the salon is far more than a quick snip and set. It's a pilgrimage, equal parts sacred ritual and community theatre. You enter through the double glass doors, hair carefully concealed beneath a scarf, only to immediately surrender your secrets and your scalp to the waiting hands of Mrs. Dottie, high priestess of the beehive and keeper of all neighborhood wisdom. The waiting area is a purgatory of vinyl chairs and out-of-date magazines, each page whispering warnings about lipstick shades, etiquette slips, and the perils of sagging foundations. The salon is a parallel universe where time slows and gravity shifts. There's the sweet, choking haze of hairspray, the constant hum of dryers, and the soft tap of manicured nails on plastic countertops. Every woman in town rotates through these chairs, submitting to the necessary evils of perming, teasing, and the perilous blue rinse. No one escapes the ritual humiliation of the shampoo bowl, neck craned back at an unnatural angle as water, suds, and existential dread trickle down the sides of your face. As you settle under the dryer, an enormous pink dome that looks like it might double as a Cold War missile silo, you are handed a tiny paper cup of bad coffee and a front row seat to the greatest show in town, the Salon Gossip Hour. Conversation here isn't just idle chatter. It's the unfiltered news cycle of suburbia. Who burned the roast? Who's hiding a new television set in the basement? Whose husband was seen at the hardware store on a Wednesday? The stories grow in the telling, and every glance exchanged in the mirror is a treaty, a dare, or a warning. While you bake under the heat lamp, the existential weight of your choices settles in. You contemplate the mysteries of the universe. How long can a perm last? Is it possible to suffocate from Aquanet fumes? Will Mrs. Peterson ever forgive you for wearing last season's shade of coral lipstick to her bridge party? The hum of the dryers and the gentle drone of gossip provide the perfect white noise for questioning the very fabric of reality, or at least your role in it. The stylist's chair is a confessional booth. Here, you confess your split ends, your grey hairs, and occasionally, your secret longing to run away to Paris and open a small bookshop. Mrs. Dottie offers absolution in the form of a trim, a touch-up, and the promise that nobody will notice. You nod, grateful, and wonder if she's lying, but you accept it. Salon truth is as sacred as salon hairspray. After your hair is shaped, sculpted, and shellacked into place, you rise from the chair transformed. You exchange nods and air kisses with fellow patrons, all of whom have their own burdens to bear. Flat hair, frizz, or the haunting knowledge that last week their curlers slipped. You pay at the front desk, tipping generously for silence and the careful handling of your fragile self-esteem. You emerge into the afternoon sun, head held high, hair unyielding to wind or reason. For the rest of the week, your style will serve as your armor, a public testament to your commitment, your stamina, and your willingness to endure the weekly gauntlet in pursuit of suburban perfection. Congratulations, you have survived another salon session. Your hair set, your secrets safe, and your spirit only slightly melted. Until next week, when the ritual begins again. Summers are brutal. Your makeup will slide off your face the moment you open the oven. Emergency powder touch-ups are as common as TV dinners. Welcome to July in 1950s suburbia, where the true test of a housewife's endurance is not family dinners or unruly children, it's maintaining your flawless canvas when the world outside is hot enough to melt patio furniture. You begin each morning with hope and a full face of foundation. But as the mercury climbs, you know the odds are not in your favor. Your war paint, so carefully applied, is about to be tested by the double threat of humidity and household appliances. The house is already steamy before breakfast is cleared. You're wiping your brow with one hand, basting a meatloaf with the other, and periodically checking your reflection in the toaster, which at least has the decency to only show your face in vague, blurry outlines. You pat your upper lip, only to discover your all-day lipstick has migrated to your chin, and your perfectly penciled eyebrows are now performing a slow, tragic slide toward your temples. Air conditioning is a luxury for the few. Most houses rely on oscillating fans and the strategic opening of windows, which lets in every insect in the county and approximately none of the breeze. Your only hope is the tiny compact of pressed powder you carry everywhere. Like a Catholic with a pocket rosary, you sneak off for powder breaks between chores, leaving mysterious puffs of coaty air spun in your wake. Even the beauty magazines are in denial. Keep cool, they chirp, recommending ice water facials and cucumber slices, neither of which stand a chance against the onslaught of the summer sun, hot ovens, and boiling laundry pots. You try blotting your face with a linen hanky, but it instantly wilts. You briefly consider keeping your head in the freezer, but there's no room next to the 3 dozen ice cube trays and a week's worth of leftovers. Every errand is a risk. A quick walk to the market, and you return home, looking less fresh-faced beauty and more melted ice cream cone. By noon, your mascara has made a break for your cheeks, your foundation has retreated to your jawline, and your blush is lost in the no-man's land of your hairline. You wage a constant battle to maintain order, darting to the bathroom every hour to reapply, blot, and hope nobody notices that your face is now 2 shades darker than your neck. There are moments of camaraderie, at the salon, in line at the grocer, or at afternoon bridge. Women trade tips in hushed tones. Try talcum powder on the chest, or Vaseline on the eyebrows keeps them from migrating. You swap knowing glances as beads of sweat trickle past your pearl earrings, everyone silently agreeing to pretend that nobody's foundation is pooling in the creases of their smile. Evening brings no relief. The house is hotter, the oven is preheating for dinner, and you still have to look presentable when your husband gets home. You dream of a future with air conditioning and makeup that doesn't require constant vigilance. But for now, you soldier on. You apply a final coat of powder, ignore the fact that it's collecting in your laugh lines, and serve dinner with a smile, careful not to let anyone see you wipe your forehead on your apron. At the end of the day, you scrub off what's left of your makeup, marveling at the stubborn streaks of mascara and the way your powder has somehow ended up on your pillowcase. You have survived another day in the war against heat, humidity, and despair. Congratulations. You're a little shiny, a little smudged, but still standing. Proof that real beauty in the 1950s isn't about perfection. It's about the daily, heroic struggle to keep your face from melting off before dessert. You're expected to stay slim, despite eating casseroles filled with mayonnaise and cheese. The scale is both your nemesis and your morning therapist. In 1950s suburbia, waistlines are a community project, and weight is everyone's business. You begin each day with a furtive glance at the bathroom scale, a squat little device that sits in the corner like a judgmental toad. It's spring-loaded, creaky, and probably rigged. The numbers are never kind. The rule of thumb: if the needle even hints at moving upward, it's time for remedial action, usually involving cottage cheese, celery, and the slow, gnawing loss of will to live. Before breakfast, you exhale, step on, and pray. Did you indulge in a slice of Betty's pineapple upside-down cake at yesterday's coffee hour? You might as well have eaten an entire roast pig. Every extra pound is a badge of shame. Discussed in hushed tones at the beauty salon and reported by Mrs. Johnson, who claims she never gains weight because of nerves. Sure, January, the standards are merciless. Advertisements promise that you, too, can achieve the new slim silhouette with just a few easy steps, crash diets, mystery powders, and, if you really care about your family, a 7-day fast that ends in a fainting spell on the church steps. The Housewife's Pantry is an accidental museum of bizarre weight loss fads. There are chalky meal replacement shakes in flavors like eggnog surprise and strawberry that never was. Carefully hidden behind the cookies you're not supposed to eat, there's diet bread, which tastes like insulation, and reducing salad, which is mostly iceberg lettuce and self-loathing. The magazines offer a dizzying array of solutions. Spot reduce with slimming exercises in the privacy of your living room, enthusiastically demonstrated by women in girdles and pumps. Rub your thighs with special creams, wrap your stomach in cellophane, and practice calorie-conscious cooking, which means swapping butter for salad oil and serving your family a casserole that resembles and tastes like library paste. If your husband notices, just smile and say it's European. Social gatherings become high-stakes weigh-ins. At every luncheon, you're torn between wanting to impress the group and the fear of being seen reaching for a second helping of ambrosia salad. Your friends claim not to notice, but you've seen the way their eyes linger on your plate. "I just don't know where you put it" is meant as a compliment, but it lands with all the grace of a lead Jell-O mold. The stress doesn't end at home. The children's friends' mothers, the grocer, even the postman. Everyone is part of the invisible Weight Watch. You develop ninja skills for dodging calorie comments and have nightmares about being caught at the bakery with a bag of sweet rolls under your arm. The shame of being plump is so potent, entire support groups form. Clandestine meetings over black coffee, where women trade tips for resisting the lure of the potato chip. Yet, for all the pressure, you still cook and serve rich, comforting meals because that's what's expected. You push through the contradiction, juggling casserole recipes and calorie charts, dreaming of a world where no one counts how many spoonfuls you serve yourself. And if you slip up, well, there's always tomorrow's celery sticks and that chalky vanilla shake. By evening, you've survived another day on the scales, both literal and social. You lie in bed, stomach rumbling, mentally calculating the calories in a single breath of air, and promising yourself that tomorrow you'll do better. Congratulations. You've made it through another round of the suburban Weight Watch, slim, strong, and slightly haunted by the spectre of mayonnaise. Sleep tight, and remember, the only thing heavier than a casserole is the weight of community expectation. Natural beauty in the 1950s means at least 40 minutes of hard labor and 5 different products. The result: a face that looks untouched by man or God. In the grand theater of mid-century America, nothing is quite as artificial or as fiercely competitive as naturalness. Magazines show fresh-faced models posed beneath soft lights, sporting what appears to be the dewy glow of an angelic farm girl. Effortless, they claim. Barely. Their makeup. What they never mention is the industrial complex of creams, powders, and precision tools lurking beneath every bare cheek. You begin with the vanishing cream, massaged into your skin with the devotion of a penitent. The smell is vaguely medicinal, with undertones of cold oatmeal. This is followed by a base foundation, something marketed as invisible but thick enough to be used for stucco. Next comes the powder, a pale, perfumed dust that settles over your face, mattifying every last trace of human emotion. The aim isn't to look alive exactly, but to look untroubled by weather, fatigue, or even the laws of biology. Blush is applied with a delicate hand, in just the right shade of whisper pink, not because you're flushed from hard work or laughter, but because you've blended it for 15 minutes, checked it in 3 different mirrors, and then blended it again. A natural blush must start nowhere and end nowhere, floating ethereally like a good reputation. Eyebrows must be tamed, shaped, and darkened, but only to the point of plausible deniability. You brush them upward, pencil in any bald patches, and then immediately brush them downward again because natural women never look too eager. Eyeshadow comes in beige or moss, the color of something you once saw on a rock. This is applied with the world's tiniest brush, barely perceptible, yet you will spend longer blending it than most men spend planning their entire futures. The real artistry is in the eyelashes. Mascara is applied sparingly, just enough to say, "I have eyelashes," but not so much as to suggest you've heard of Paris. The magazines recommend the cake formula, which involves wetting a tiny black brick and brushing it on with a tool resembling a medieval torture device. The process is silent, meditative, and, if you sneeze, completely ruined. Lips are another study in contradiction. You reach for a nude shade, which, in the 1950s, is just a polite way of saying not red. You carefully line your lips. Fill them in with Bare Blossom or Demure Peach. Blot, and then reapply. The end result is lips that look almost like lips, but better, quieter, more modest. Lips that could apologize at a moment's notice. The finishing touch is a quick dab of cold cream on your cheekbones for a hint of youthful dewiness. The irony is that you've never felt less dewy in your life. Your face is set, powdered, and shellacked against the world. And yet somehow, it's supposed to look like you've just woken from a blissful, makeup-free nap. And so you emerge from the bathroom, naturally beautiful in a way that requires a strict schedule, a complex supply chain, and the patience of a saint. If anyone dares to compliment your fresh look, you smile serenely, hide the exhaustion in your eyes, and pretend you just rolled out of bed like this. Congratulations, you've survived another round of cosmetic gymnastics, and your natural face is ready to meet the world. Perfectly plain, meticulously crafted, and as real as a TV dinner. If you have a daughter, she's already in curlers and learning to walk in kitten heels before she's tall enough to reach the fridge. Childhood innocence is replaced with etiquette lessons and the occasional cold cream facial. The 1950s is no era for slackers or slack skin, and so the beauty regime starts early, sometimes alarmingly early. While boys are sent to mow lawns and fight imaginary communists in the backyard, girls are drafted into the domestic beauty corps. Your daughter's first memories are not of sandboxes, but of being coaxed to sit still for a home perm while the scent of burning ammonia wafts through the house and your mother softly croons, "Beauty is pain. Dear, sit up straight." The daily training is a ritual of tiny curlers and big ambitions. The moment your daughter's hair grows past her ears, it's set in rollers each night. Her scalp tender, but her spirit forged in the same fires that built post-war suburbia. You instruct her in the fine art of brushing, teasing, and, when disaster strikes, strategic hat-wearing. By age 7, she can wield a rat-tail comb like a samurai sword and knows not to trust any bobby pin that isn't anchored with at least 3 others. Kitten heels come next. A test of balance, posture, and the willingness to sacrifice comfort for the glory of a perfectly pointed toe. She practices gliding up and down the hallway, arms poised and trembling, watched by a jury of dolls and one very unimpressed house cat. There are slips, stumbles, and the occasional teary protest. You console her. One day, you'll thank me when you can cross a crowded supermarket floor without so much as a twisted ankle. You don't mention the days you quietly curse your own shoes while navigating the A&P. Etiquette lessons are relentless. Your daughter learns the correct way to fold a napkin, set a table, and never, under any circumstances, start eating before a man has lifted his fork. Polite conversation is rehearsed in front of the mirror, with you playing the role of every possible neighbor, schoolteacher, and nosy grocer she might ever encounter. Sit up straight, shoulders back. Smile, but not too much, remember. You're not selling anything. Cold cream is introduced as both a cleanser and a rite of passage. Your daughter sits at the vanity, face upturned, as you gently spread the cool white cream across her cheeks. She wrinkles her nose at the sensation but endures. It's never too early to start thinking about your pores, you advise, as if pores are both a medical emergency and a moral failing. The wardrobe, too, is carefully curated. There are frilly dresses for church, pedal pushers for play, and one special occasion outfit that is to be worn only if the Queen of England herself appears on your doorstep. Socks are starched, collars pressed, bows tied with military precision. Any deviation from the prescribed look brings a gentle but firm correction. After all, you're not just raising a child, you're cultivating a brand. By her teens, your daughter has internalized the code. She swaps beauty tips with friends in whispered tones, swaps lip gloss in the school restroom, and starts each day with a critical inspection of her reflection. She is armed with the wisdom of generations and the subtle panic that comes from knowing the entire block is, at any given moment, glancing her way. The irony, of course, is that beneath the rituals, there's a child just trying to grow up, hoping to earn a gold star for posture, a compliment for her complexion, or at least a break from the curlers for one Saturday morning. Congratulations, you've raised a daughter ready to survive the wilds of 1950s suburbia, well coiffed, well mannered, and already wondering if her future will require even sharper heels. Your beauty routine is not just for you, but for your husband's approval. If he doesn't compliment your appearance, it's an existential crisis. If he does, you're suspicious. In 1950s suburbia, a wife's appearance isn't a personal choice, it's a public service. Every magazine, radio program, and household manual makes it perfectly clear. Your face, hair, and figure are reflections of your husband's success, like a living, breathing lawn ornament with better lipstick. The perfect housewife doesn't just look good for herself, she looks good at him, constantly, reassuringly, and preferably in soft focus. Each morning, the war for approval begins. Before he even opens his eyes, you're already in front of the mirror, reapplying the previous night's mascara, smoothing down curlers, and pretending that this flawless version of you just happens naturally. The goal is to create the illusion that beauty maintenance doesn't exist, that you simply wake up lovely. This is a lie, of course. A lie built on cold cream, hairspray, and sheer determination. Breakfast becomes the first battlefield. You glide into the kitchen in your crisp housecoat and perfect curls, armed with a smile that could cut glass. As you place his coffee cup on the table, you wait, subtly but desperately, for the compliment, something simple. You look nice today. But if he says nothing, you spiral. Has he stopped noticing? Has your lipstick lost its allure? Did Mrs. Robinson at the PTA look particularly radiant this week? The internal monologue is relentless. Yet, paradoxically, if he does comment, suspicion blooms instantly. Why is he being so nice? What's he done? There's no winning this game. The only prize is paranoia. The magazines aren't helping. They instruct you to keep your husband interested with a rotating arsenal of hairstyles and perfume. One ad even suggests spritzing your linens with scent so he'll dream of you when you're not there. An idea that sounds romantic until you're laundering sheets that smell like chemical gardenias and guilt. Another recommends greeting him at the door each evening refreshed and radiant, which, given you've spent the day scrubbing grout and refereeing toddlers, is roughly equivalent to asking a marathon runner to look glamorous at mile 26. Your beauty routine expands accordingly. Hair appointments multiply. Lipstick shades are tested with the precision of a NASA launch. Your mirror becomes both confidant and critic. You practice smiling, not too wide, that shows neediness, not too soft, that shows fatigue, just enough to say, "See, I'm still the woman you married," even as you question whether she still exists. But approval is a moving target. If you appear too glamorous, he might wonder whom you're trying to impress. Too plain, and you're accused of letting yourself go. You are forever walking the razor's edge between desirable and desperate. Men like mystery, the women's magazines warn. So you master the art of applying lipstick in secrecy, turning beauty into espionage. Your cold cream jar is hidden like state evidence. Heaven forbid he see the scaffolding behind the façade. Even bedtime is a performance. The curlers go in after he falls asleep. The night cream goes on in the dark. You pray he doesn't roll over and touch your face, which currently has the texture of candle wax, and if he does, you murmur something vague about hydration and turn over, vowing to start fresh in the morning with a new lipstick maybe, or a new version of yourself entirely. In the end, husband-approved beauty isn't really about him at all. It's about the constant, anxious choreography of being observed, evaluated, and never quite enough. You love him, sure, but you also know that if one day you stopped curling, plucking, or painting, someone, maybe him, maybe Mrs. Johnson, would whisper that you've changed. Congratulations, you've survived another day in the minefield. Your lipstick is intact. Your smile is believable, and your self-worth, for now, is safe until tomorrow morning's coffee. Beneath the surface of pastel perfection lies a mountain of wasted hours, lost dollars, and the gnawing feeling that your entire existence is sponsored by the American plastics industry. The glossy magazines never mention the receipts. They show radiant housewives in spotless kitchens, but not the math behind maintaining that illusion. You don't just buy lipstick. You buy the dream of effortless beauty, sold in small pastel tubes. Every ad promises salvation for 49 cents, and somehow, every week, you fall for it again. Cold creams, powders, lotions, tonics, each one swearing it'll make your husband love you, your neighbors envy you, and your pores vanish into another dimension. The cost isn't just in money, it's in minutes. Hours vanish in the pursuit of flawlessness. You could write a novel in the time it takes to achieve a 1950s casual look. Each morning is an assembly line of upkeep. Washing, plucking, setting, ironing, your hair, your clothes, your very soul. Even sleep, that final refuge of the weary, becomes a project. You lie on your back to preserve your curls, afraid to move, for fear of sabotaging tomorrow's illusion. Your bathroom counter looks like a science lab, cluttered with jars, tubes, and mysterious powders with French names. Your husband doesn't notice the difference between ivory petal and pale shell, but your peers do, and their judgment is swift. You are competing in an arms race fought with rouge, and the only casualties are your wallet and your peace of mind. Then there are the gadgets. Oh, the gadgets. Curling irons that could double as branding tools, electric rollers, handheld facial massagers that promise to stimulate youth and instead give you mild electrical anxiety, the new washing machine, the new vacuum, the new kitchen mixer, all marketed as time-saving devices. But somehow, the more gadgets you own, the less time you seem to have. Progress, it turns out, is just housework with better branding. Even your wardrobe is a financial sinkhole. Every season there's a new color every lady must own. Your dresses must match your lipstick, which must match your handbag, which must match your husband's social standing. Laundry starch becomes your drug of choice. You iron with precision, praying the creases hold long enough to convince the world you're holding it all together. The emotional toll runs deeper. The magazines don't tell you that beauty is a treadmill with no off switch. Every improvement invites a new flaw. You lose 5 pounds. But now, your face looks drawn. You master the eyeliner flick, but your hands shake from exhaustion. Your self-worth dangles on a single trembling lash. One smudge, one off day, and you spiral into self-doubt. You are the living embodiment of doing your best. Yet somehow, your best is never enough. And still, you keep going, because to stop would mean admitting the truth that the perfection you're chasing doesn't exist, that the approval of neighbors, husbands, and advertisers is as fleeting as the scent of your last bottle of perfume. You buy another cream, another shade of lipstick, another miracle in a jar, because hope, however irrational, is cheaper than despair. By nightfall, the cost of keeping up appearances has worn you thin. You peel off your makeup, count the crumpled bills in your purse, and wonder if your reflection ever belonged to you at all. The cold cream stings, but you rub it in anyway. Habit, hope, and the faint belief that tomorrow might be the day you finally get it right. Congratulations. You've survived another day of beauty by the book. Polished, poised, and just a little bit poorer. After midnight, when the curlers come out and the cold cream goes on, the mask slips. You stare into the bathroom mirror, wondering what it's all for, knowing that tomorrow it all begins again. The final secret beauty standard, pretending you love it. This is the only hour when you belong to yourself. The house is quiet, the dishes are drying, and the hum of the refrigerator fills the air like white noise for the weary soul. You finally unpin your hair, each curl falling in exhausted surrender, and massage your scalp with the fervor of a woman trying to remember she's alive. The hairspray flakes off like fine snow. You watch it dust the counter and think, that's probably what my dreams look like now, shiny, fragile, and hard to clean. The bathroom mirror is merciless under the glow of the overhead bulb. You lean in close, wiping away the day's foundation until the woman beneath emerges, tired, soft, familiar. She looks back at you with quiet defiance. The ghost of the girl you once were still flickering somewhere behind the eyes. You've spent the whole day constructing her armor, lipstick, lashes, polite smiles, and now, piece by piece, you dismantle it. The ritual is almost religious. Cold cream first, rubbed into every crease. You can feel the mask dissolve, melting off in thick white streaks, like surrender on your fingertips. This is where the rebellion begins, not in words, but in the slow, unspoken relief of being ugly in peace. Your reflection doesn't have to smile here. It doesn't have to impress. It doesn't even have to blink prettily. You can frown, scowl, yawn, or mutter curses about that neighbor who always drops by unannounced. Here, no one's watching, and for a few minutes, That feels like freedom. You brush your hair, methodically and without performance. Each stroke feels like reclaiming an inch of sanity. No one tells you to sit up straight or to cross your legs like a lady. No one judges the way your robe slips off one shoulder. The robe is threadbare and cozy, a quiet rebellion against the endless rotation of pastel perfection. You could, if you wanted, stay this way forever. But you won't, because you know what's waiting for you tomorrow. The curlers, the lipstick, the act. You think about the small, invisible revolts you commit each day. Wearing flats instead of heels when you know you'll be out all morning. Leaving the dishes for an hour, even though the magazines would be horrified. Eating an extra cookie straight from the tin while no one's looking. These aren't failures, they're survival tactics. Tiny, delicious rebellions against a world that expects grace under fluorescent lighting. Sometimes, when you're brushing your teeth, you think about all the women doing this same ritual across America. Every one of them wiping away her mask in silence, each convinced she's the only one tired of pretending. The beauty routines, the fake smiles, the constant performance, it's exhausting, yes, but it's also unifying. You are part of a secret sisterhood of women who understand the power of a moment alone. The small joy of seeing yourself as you really are and thinking, maybe she's enough. The mirror catches you mid-thought. You tilt your head, smirk, and realize, for all the pressure, all the absurdity, you're still here, still standing, still capable of seeing the humor in it all, the curlers, the casseroles, the catastrophe of your mascara. The world may expect perfection, but perfection can wait. Tonight, you choose honesty. And that, in this age of smiles and starched aprons, is the most radical beauty of all. Congratulations. You've made it through another day of expectations and illusions. Now, under the soft buzz of the bathroom light, you finally get to exhale, wipe off the war paint, and whisper to your reflection, good enough. And for tonight, that's everything. Every catalogue is a battleground. You're expected to own a turquoise stand mixer, a waffle iron shaped like a flying saucer, and at least 2 toasters, in case one of them catches fire during a dinner party. Appliance envy runs rampant. If your neighbor buys an electric can opener, you have to pretend you've had one since the Roosevelt administration, even if you're still opening beans with a chisel. In 1950s suburbia, the kitchen is not just where meals are made. It's the showroom of your domestic worth. The sleek chrome gleam of your appliances is a direct reflection of your moral standing. If your washing machine hums too loudly, or your refrigerator lacks an automatic defroster, you might as well hang a sign in the yard that says, "We're slipping." Progress is measured in horsepower and pastel shades. Catalogue season is the most dangerous time of year. The moment you flip through the glossy pages, you're transported to a world of smiling women, surrounded by gadgets that promise to change their lives. A pink toaster that sings, a vacuum cleaner that allegedly lifts stains and spirits. You start to wonder how you ever survived without a countertop rotisserie that can fit an entire chicken and your self-esteem. Each page whispers, "You deserve this," and before you know it, you're mentally refinancing the family budget for a new blender that can turn anything, fruit, ice, or dreams, into froth. Of course, it's not just about convenience, it's about keeping up appearances. Appliances are social currency. When Mrs. Peterson mentions her new electric range, what she really means is, "I'm winning." You nod politely, smiling as if your own oven isn't older than half your in-laws. That evening, you'll drop subtle hints to your husband over dinner. Nothing direct, just a light sigh and a wistful, "Did you know the Johnsons have a dishwasher that hums lullabies?" And so begins the domestic arms race. The neighbors upgrade, you upgrade. Someone gets a new Hoover, and suddenly your vacuum looks like an antique farm implement. Soon, every household on the block is waging a silent, polished war for modern supremacy. One chrome finish at a time. You develop the fine art of appliance bragging, a delicate mix of envy and passive aggression. Oh, that model is so modern. Of course, ours still works fine, except for that funny rattling noise. Meanwhile, the appliances themselves are multiplying. You buy one gadget to save time, only to spend more time maintaining it. The new electric mixer requires polishing. The blender smells faintly of burning plastic if you use it more than twice. The time-saving washing machine has its own complicated rituals involving dials, levers, and the occasional exorcism. Every device arrives with a manual thicker than a Bible and twice as confusing. By the end of the decade, your kitchen looks like a NASA launch site. And yet, you're still tired. You still spend hours cleaning, scrubbing, and fixing whatever your modern miracle broke. The promise of convenience has turned into a full-time job. And still, when you catch sight of Mrs. Johnson's new refrigerator with the glass butter compartment, you can't help but feel a stab of longing. The hidden truth of the appliance age is that you're not buying efficiency, you're buying reassurance. The illusion that progress can make life easier, prettier, more bearable. You tell yourself that the new gadgets are helping, even as you spend your evenings untangling cords and polishing stainless steel, until you can see your own weary reflection staring back. Congratulations. You've survived another round in the suburban space race, armed not with rockets, but with a blender, a dream, and a silent vow that next time, you'll be the first on the block to own the future. You're ambushed by a cheerful neighbor wielding pastel plastic bowls. Suddenly, you're trapped in a living room circle, forced to feign enthusiasm for burp-sealed containers and a game of guess how many cheese cubes fit in a relish tray. True social status depends on how many Tupperware lids you can match, blindfolded, before someone starts selling you life insurance. It always starts innocently. A knock at the door, a smile too wide to be casual, and the 6 words that strike fear into every woman's heart. Would you like to come over? You're cornered before you can invent an excuse. Within an hour, you're perched on the edge of someone's plastic-covered sofa, surrounded by other women wearing polite smiles and weaponized optimism. There's punch in a glass bowl, finger sandwiches sweating on white bread, and the unmistakable smell of lemon-scented desperation. The hostess, wearing her best hostess apron, different from the cooking apron, mind you, claps her hands to begin the presentation. Ladies, she chirps, prepare to have your lives changed. She lifts the lid on a bowl of suspiciously jiggling Jell-O salad, demonstrating how perfectly the Tupperware burp seal keeps freshness locked in. The room collectively gasps, half from politeness, half from mild asphyxiation due to the cloud of aquanet hanging over the gathering. Then come the games. Oh, the games. Guess the price of the party set. Name that lid. Which one of these containers can fit an entire meatloaf and a sense of crushing conformity? You laugh along, pretending not to notice that everyone's silently calculating how much guilt they can afford to take home in the form of a $3.99 modular storage bowl. You're offered hors d'oeuvres served on pastel plates, each one a subtle advertisement for how good life could be, if only you owned 17 matching salad containers. Tupperware parties aren't really about storage, they're about status. Every lid, every airtight seal, is proof that you're a woman who has her life together, organized, efficient, and just a little bit superior. You can measure your social rank in cubic inches. The woman with the most complete Wonder Bowl set is practically suburban royalty. And heaven help the poor soul who admits she still uses wax paper The hostess eventually brings out her pièce de résistance, a tower of containers stacked higher than the hopes of every woman in the room. She taps the top one with pride. "Ladies," she declares, "imagine how impressed your husband will be when his leftovers stay fresh all week." There's an audible sigh, half longing, half resignation. You picture your husband staring into the fridge, still managing to ask, "What's for dinner?" as he overlooks 6 perfectly preserved meals. By the second hour, you've lost all sense of time. You clap when you're supposed to. You nod as though burp-sealing lettuce is a spiritual revelation. You buy 1 bowl, maybe 2, just to escape. The hostess thanks you as if you've personally funded her college tuition. You leave with a catalogue and a creeping suspicion that you'll soon be hosting your own party. At home, you unpack your new Tupperware and stare at it in silence. The glossy plastic gleams under the kitchen light, mocking you. You know this isn't about food. It's about filling something else, the endless void between who you are and who you're supposed to be. Congratulations. You've survived the Tupperware party trap. Tomorrow, you'll stack your new bowls neatly in the cupboard, where they'll sit, unused, until the next neighbor knocks on your door, smiling, holding a brochure, and promising you the airtight life you deserve. It's Saturday, which means transforming your 4-year-old into a pint-sized debutante for the local Little Miss Perfection contest. False eyelashes, hairspray, and a dress so stiff it could stand up on its own. The real competition isn't the kids, it's the mothers, locked in a silent war over whose child can balance a tiara and an existential crisis at the same time. The morning begins in a flurry of pastel chaos. The dining room table is an explosion of sequins, bobby pins, and emotional damage. You've been up since dawn, sewing rhinestones onto a tulle skirt that could double as a parachute. The child sits impatiently, swinging her patent leather shoes, while you try to tame her curls into submission with enough hairspray to violate air safety regulations. Every spritz is a prayer. To the judges, to the gods of pageantry, to anyone who might spare you both from humiliation. Pageant makeup for a 4-year-old is a delicate balance. Too little, and she'll look washed out under the stage lights. Too much, and she'll look like a Vegas lounge act in Mary Jane's. The magazines say, accentuate her natural features, but by the time you're done contouring, her cheekbones could cut glass, and her lashes cast shadows on the wall. You try not to question your choices as you smear on pink lipstick labeled cherub blush, and remind yourself that this is normal, at least in the 1950s definition of normal. By mid-morning, the living room looks like a low-budget backstage at the Miss America pageant. Mothers hover over their daughters like stage managers, applying last-minute touch-ups and existential pep talks. Remember, smile with your teeth, but not all your teeth. Tilt your head, sweetheart. Not like that, you're not a question mark. And don't forget, darling, winners never cry unless it's adorable. At the community hall, the fluorescent lights hum over rows of folding chairs and nervous energy. The air is thick with talcum powder, aquanet, and maternal anxiety. You take your place in the audience beside the other mothers, who greet you with the kind of smiles that could curdle milk. Everyone's pretending to be friendly, but beneath the surface lies the raw, unspoken truth. This is war, and only one child will walk away with a sash and a lifelong fear of imperfection. The pageant begins. Tiny girls parade across the stage in miniature ball gowns, smiling so hard their molars ache. They twirl, curtsy, and recite memorized poems about America, butterflies, or Jesus, sometimes all 3 at once. The judges, an inscrutable panel of local business owners and one retired baton twirler, Nod solemnly as if presiding over an Olympic event. You clutch your pearls and whisper silent affirmations. She's doing fine. She's radiant. She didn't just trip. That was choreography. Meanwhile, the other mothers are in full espionage mode. Someone accidentally spills juice on a rival's sash. Another adjusts the thermostat to sabotage perfectly set curls. You exchange tight-lipped compliments, each one sharper than a nail file. "Oh, your little one looks darling. I just love that color on her. So daring." When it's over, the girls line up for the crowning ceremony, faces shining under the stage lights. Or maybe that's just the cold sweat of suppressed panic. A hush falls over the room as the MC draws out the announcement. And there it is, the winner's name. Not your daughter's, of course, but someone else's. A child whose mother will never stop talking about it at bridge club. You smile gracefully, applaud politely, and quietly plan revenge involving next year's costume budget. Back home, the tiara-less princess sits at the kitchen table, blissfully eating ice cream, unbothered by the crushing weight of suburban competition. You watch her laugh and realize she's already won something more valuable: her sanity. Congratulations. You've survived another round of tulle, tension, and tiny tantrums. The ribbons will fade, but the therapy bills will last forever. You're halfway through alphabetizing the pantry when the doorbell rings. Panic sets in. Your hair is one curler away from disaster, and there's a rogue dust bunny staging a coup under the sofa. You're required to present coffee, cookies, and sparkling conversation with no evidence of stress. Your entire social reputation hinges on whether the bathroom towels are folded into animal shapes. In 1950s suburbia, drop-ins are the social equivalent of an air raid. There's no warning, no time to hide the evidence of real life, crumbs, unfolded laundry, or the 3-day-old casserole dish you've been meaning to soak just a little longer. Every knock on the door is a test of readiness, charm, and raw survival instincts. The magazines call it gracious hospitality. You call it sheer panic with a lace doily. The first step is triage. You freeze, heart pounding, and calculate your odds. Who could it be? Mrs. Johnson, the neighborhood surveillance operative? The pastor's wife? God forbid, your mother-in-law? Each possibility demands a different emergency response protocol. You yank the curlers from your hair, fluff what remains, and perform a frantic sweep of the visible surfaces. There's no time for actual cleaning, so you rely on the golden rule of 1950s crisis management. Hide the evidence, smile through the terror. Dishes go into the oven, laundry into the bathtub, and the children, if visible, are bribed with candy and silence. You spritz perfume into the air to cover the smell of mild despair. The goal isn't cleanliness, it's the illusion of effort. Your home should look like it's perpetually one commercial break away from a magazine photoshoot. When you finally open the door, it's with the carefully practiced expression of serene delight. "Oh, what a lovely surprise," you chirp, as though you didn't just sprint a mile in house slippers. The guests step in, beaming, blissfully unaware that you've just hidden a week's worth of existential exhaustion under a throw blanket. Coffee must be offered immediately. You hustle to the kitchen, praying there's at least enough for 2 cups. Instant coffee is your fallback. Modern convenience, you'll call it, though it tastes faintly of punishment. As it brews, you begin the delicate art of conversation filler, tossing compliments like grenades. "That dress is darling. How are the hydrangeas? Did you hear about the new supermarket? They have frozen peas." Meanwhile, the guests are scanning your living room, eyes darting like trained inspectors. Every corner is a trap. Did you remember to fluff the sofa pillows? Did you leave the Good Housekeeping magazine open to an acceptable page? Is the ashtray clean? One stray fingerprint on the coffee table, and you'll be silently demoted in the social hierarchy. The cookie situation is another ordeal. You're expected to have fresh baked goods on hand at all times, just in case the neighbors pop by to see how you're doing. Of course you don't. No one does. But you keep a tin of emergency store-bought cookies hidden behind the flour canister, ready for deployment. You plate them with ceremony, adding a sprig of mint as camouflage. Presentation is everything. Taste is optional. As you serve, you laugh on cue, nod in all the right places, and pray no one asks to use the bathroom. If they do, you're one misplaced towel away from social exile. You've heard stories. Poor Mrs. Henderson forgot to replace the guest soap last spring and hasn't been invited to a single luncheon since. Eventually, the guests stand, satisfied and unsuspecting. You wave them off with grace, maintaining your smile until their car disappears around the corner. The moment the coast is clear, you collapse into a chair, mascara slightly smudged, soul entirely spent. Congratulations. You've survived the mid-afternoon ambush, house intact, dignity mostly preserved, and hair only mildly resembling a haystack. Tomorrow, you'll restock the cookie tin and pray for mercy. But for now, you've earned 5 minutes of peace and maybe a shot of the cooking sherry. The sun sets, the kids are asleep, and your husband is snoring in his recliner. You finally have a moment alone with the washing machine and your deepest regrets. You stare blankly at the pile of shirts needing starch and fantasize about a world where wash and wear actually means something. The real beauty secret of 1950s housewives? Emotional numbness and the gentle thrum of the spin cycle. The day has finally surrendered, leaving behind the battlefield of dishes, toys, and the faint scent of burnt casserole dreams. You shuffle into the laundry room, barefoot, hair wilting from a day's worth of humidity and lies about having it all under control. The space hums softly, fluorescent light flickering like a dying star above your head. You close the door, not to block out the noise of the house, but to trap yourself in a small, private cocoon of solitude. This is your confessional booth, your therapy office, your spa retreat with lint traps. The washing machine churns on, and you watch it as if it's playing an avant-garde film about domestic futility. Each spin cycle is hypnotic, each drip from the faucet a slow metronome of resignation. You pour in detergent like it's holy water, and wonder when exactly you started measuring time by the number of rinse cycles. It's here, in the laundry room, that your mind begins to wander. You think of the glossy magazine ads showing radiant women folding towels with divine purpose, smiling as if enlightenment itself were hidden in the fabric softener. None of them ever mention the static cling, the missing socks, or the quiet existential ache of knowing you've ironed the same shirt 400 times and it's still wrinkled. You stare at the iron, hissing softly on the board, and consider whether it's sighing in sympathy or mocking you. You briefly toy with the idea of rebellion, leaving the pile as it is, walking out, running away to Havana, perhaps. You imagine yourself on a beach, hair wild, free of curlers and societal expectations. Then reality reminds you that the only ocean in your life is the one sloshing around in the washer, filled with your family's grass, stains, and ketchup memories. You reach for a folded towel and press it to your face, not to inhale the fresh mountain breeze scent, but to muffle the quiet laugh that escapes you. It's absurd, all of it. The endless parade of chores dressed up as love. The beauty standards, the spotless floors, the cheerful hosting. The laundry room knows your secrets. It's the only witness to your unguarded self. Here, there's no lipstick, no pearls, no performance. Just you, a basket of damp laundry, and the strange comfort of being temporarily invisible. Every so often, You hear the faint call of your husband from the living room. Something about his missing socks, naturally. You don't answer. Not yet. You let the machine hum a little longer. You've earned 5 minutes of silence. 5 minutes where you don't have to be beautiful, charming, or efficient. 5 minutes to remember that you're a person beneath the starch and the smiles. The spin cycle slows, the final rinse gurgles, and the silence afterward feels both heavy and holy. You turn off the light, glance once more at the pile waiting for tomorrow, and whisper a soft, tired promise to yourself. Maybe I'll fold them in the morning. Congratulations. You've survived another day in the grand performance of perfection. The world is quiet now, and for the briefest moment, so are you. So, as you sink deeper into your pillow and the gentle hum of your fan, take a moment to appreciate just how far we've come since the golden age of matching lipstick and vacuum cleaners. Tonight, you survived a day in the life of a 1950s housewife. Girdles, curlers, gossip, and all. You endured the trials of helmet hair, dodged Tupperware parties like a seasoned veteran, and maintained perfect nail polish even while wrestling with a toaster that threatened to burn down the kitchen. That, my friend, is the definition of heroism. It's easy to laugh at the pastel chaos of the past, but it's also worth admiring the relentless resilience hiding under all those layers of foundation and aqua net. The housewives of the 1950s faced a daily marathon of expectations, most of them absurd, many of them exhausting, and all of them served with a side of Jell-O salad. Yet, they got up, put on their best face, sometimes literally, and faced the day with a smile that would shame a toothpaste commercial. As you drift off tonight, remember to be grateful for stretchy pants, microwave dinners, and the fact that your neighbors probably aren't judging your bathroom towels. Give a silent thank you for modern comforts, like face masks that aren't just cold cream, bras that don't double as weapons, and the sweet freedom to take the trash out in pajamas if you feel like it. History is proof that people, especially women, are stubborn, creative, and endlessly adaptive. So whether your beauty routine is 5 seconds or 50 minutes, remember, real beauty isn't about a flawless face or a perfectly ironed shirt. It's about making it through the day, still smiling, and maybe laughing a little at the past. Sleep well, knowing you don't have to face a single pointy bra in the morning. And if you ever feel overwhelmed, just remember, somewhere out there, a 1950s housewife is looking down at you from history, smiling through perfect red lipstick and whispering, "Relax. You've got this. Good night."